Yeah, sure. Okay, we're live. So, welcome to the Our Rights, Our Oath podcast. So, who wants to go first and introducing themselves?
I can go first.
Okay.
My name is Gurmanjeet Bassi. I'm a business major. And I was just interested in learning about the Constitution, which is why I'm here. Anyone else?
My name is Justin Knoll. I am a computer science major and business administration minor. I served in the military and have always had a huge interest in the Constitution. I actually consider myself a constitutionalist. I don't side with any particular political party. I just choose to live by the oath that I took in the military, which was to protect the Constitution. So here I am.
Hi, I'm Mona. I'm business management major. Um, I'm trying to gain more knowledge about Constitution.
My name's Haley. I'm also a business administration major, and I'm just like Moon, I'm trying to learn about it more and understand it completely.
Okay. So what this podcast is all about is bringing awareness to the Constitution as well as educating people about the Constitution and how it pertains to today's world and understanding why it's important to us all. As you can see, we're a pretty diverse group inside of this podcast. It's not like we're trying to base it off of one political party. I don't know their political standings. I don't know everything, but we're here to kind of talk and have a peaceful discussion, and that's what we're going to encourage, even in our comment section, to everybody be polite and actually have courtesy in discussing this situation. So we're about ready to get started. So we're going to start, I think, on the fact that the Constitution, who in here actually knows what the Constitution is?
um, so like what I know is that the Constitution is like um it's I know that it superseded the or was it Articles of Confederation? Um and so it's basically just a list of laws that were made a long time ago, and that's basically all I know about it.
But they're not necessarily all laws. I'll start with that one. Laws are not written into the Constitution. Your rights are actually written into the Constitution, and the rules about how the government will act is what is the Constitution. Like a perfect example, if you look at the articles, it's discussing like presidential candidates and president and how the president's limitations are, and then same with governors and everything. It talks about how our government will be outlined, and then also about the rights. There's the Bill of Rights, so you actually have your rights that are given to you as a citizen of the United States. So there's actually, it's not laws, it's rights that are the one of the biggest things in the Constitution. Haley, what do you kind of know?
I learned about this like in last quarter, and I mostly learned about how unfair it was towards women. So I don't have a lot to say about it besides like I think the Constitution mostly like the terms that they use, it mostly focuses on like non-gender terms. So then back then a lot of men took advantage of that, and then women lost their rights or didn't have rights. That's why there was a women's suffrage and why women fought for their rights so hard. That's what I know about it. Other than that, I don't know much about it.
So I'm going to preface that with that before the Constitution even existed, women didn't really have rights. If you think
Yeah,
about it,
that too.
the Constitution wasn't the reason that you didn't have rights. It was just a setup that was kind of a international thing. Um, I mean, if you look at Britain, where actually people who started this country, or at least the United States, I wouldn't say this country because I mean, obviously we have indigenous people who lived here prior, um, but the people who decided to separate themselves away from Britain was they created the Constitution, and in the writing, it basically it has a lot of stuff saying for all people. Now, yes, people took advantage of certain writing. There's no denying, but that if you look throughout the entirety of history, it's always been that way. Um, in every country. I mean, even to this day, in Middle Eastern countries, most women don't really have rights. Most women have to adhere to specific laws saying how they dress, what they can do, just it's everywhere. And even I'm going to address slavery on this too. So many people want to bring up that Constitution, the people who wrote the Constitution were slave owners and this and everything. Okay, but that was that time, and that was a normalcy back then. If you look at the sheer fact that every country had slaves, and um, if you look at say Middle East, the Middle East had slaves. If you look at China, China had slaves. Everybody had some kind of slave. Everybody, every country has treated women unfairly. Am I saying it's right? No. And that's why this country is what it is, though. This country was made with the idea of everyone being equal and having freedom. And that's what that Constitution is the idea of creating equality and making it so anyone who comes to this country is a citizen and um, actually will be free and have the American dream in their sights. Um, and I'm going to also say that when we talk, I know this might become a subject at some point during this, um, gender and everything like that, like women statistically are smarter than men, okay? But in in the whole aspect of everything, men also tend to be the more of a go-getter. Men tend to actually strive. Not a lot of women do. Not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying that statistically it's true. Not every woman out there has aspirations to, go and do something more with their life. Like you two are getting your degree. Fantastic. Not every woman out there wants to do that. And not every man wants to get their degree. But statistically, most men go into more dangerous jobs and everything like that. So, um, I know, like I said, it's going to become a part of this whole thing, but I think that the Constitution is just a basis of providing those freedoms. And yes, people have tried to abuse their power, their authority, and it happens everywhere. Um, Too many people focus on the United States is doing this. It's been a part of history forever. And this country is probably one of the best places because it has those rules and those freedoms that are given to us. Luna, you got anything?
Yeah, as he said, what I know about Constitution is that what I have been knowing is that it defines the laws and it explains the link between the states and the primary institutions and describe their roles.
Yeah, so y'all do, I mean, have a little bit of knowledge on it, but of course, you guys have said you guys don't really have a huge background on it, and it's not surprising. It's actually a pretty big thing nowadays. Not too many people really pay attention to it. No, not too many people hear a little snippet of it and they think, oh, well, that's all the Constitution is, you know? Um, so what is it that you guys are looking to learn exactly?
I feel like something that I would like to learn is probably how actually they affect you on a day to day. I feel like a lot of people don't really like understand how like the gravity of like to which the Constitution actually affects you and how you actually use it on like a day to day basis.
Hmm.
Um, like something that just pops up into my head is like being a gun owner. The Second Amendment is something basically that you use every day if you carry a gun or have a gun or own a gun. Um, and so, yeah, just learning about more of like stuff that I use every day is pretty interesting.
You're actually using it right now. You just talking,
Exactly.
you're using it
Yeah.
every day. When you state your own opinion about our government, you're using it. If you have an argument with somebody and you have your own opinion and they have theirs, you both have that right. That is your inherent right given to you by not only the Constitution, but God Himself. You as a free human being, free thinking person, are outlined, your freedoms are basically outlined not only in the Constitution, but in just your everyday life. You walking around every day doing what you please is partially has to do with the Constitution. Because in other countries, no, they don't have those same rights. Um, so in some other countries, you know, there's like I mentioned earlier, women don't have near the same equal rights. They're treated as complete second class citizens. In some countries, women aren't even allowed to work. They're literally just shunned off to the side. They're treated as you know, things, not people. So when you talk to a day-to-day life, you see it every day. There's always somebody using it, and it's become second nature to us all that we have so much freedom in comparison to a lot of other countries. Now, I'm not going to say there's not other countries out there that are free. There are. They're just their freedom is a different thing, and theirs is not as protected as our freedom. Because our freedom actually has a constitution that says these are our rights. You cannot take them. And there's a reason that if you look at the Bill of Rights, okay, the Bill of Rights is listed in a specific way, right? You have your First Amendment, freedom of speech. What's right after that? Your Second Amendment, freedom to bear arms, right? Okay. There's a reason that is. Because your First Amendment is always the one that you need. To protect that amendment, you need to have the arms to protect yourself and your rights. Everything else that follows that is all important. It's just in the end, one of the most important ones is we all have our freedom to say what we need to say. And that's why the beginning of the Constitution says we the people, not we the government. It's our country. It's Luna's country, it's Haley's, it's yours, it's mine. We as the people have the power. That's what the Constitution gives us. And that's how you use it on a daily basis. So, Haley, you got anything to say?
Not really. I just agree with what Kerman said, like what I'm trying to learn in this and everything. Like, I think all of us really do just use all of it without even realizing it. It's more like we probably took it for granted, kind of.
Yeah, I believe that, and that's why I wanted to do this, because I think too many people do take it for granted.
Mm.
I think, and it actually really pisses me off, to an extent, because I served this country. I went to Afghanistan. I saw some stuff. I'm not gonna go into detail about it, but you know, and then I come home and I just see everybody doing this, all this stuff, and I see riots and I see this thing and that thing, and I'm like, it's not what I fought for. It's not what any soldier fought for. It's not what these, you think the people who died in 9/11 want to see this? We were at our most united in a long time when 9/11 happened. I was in elementary school when 9/11 happened. I woke up in the morning and I thought it was a movie for a period, and then got to school and I really realized it was not a movie. So I grew up in post 9/11, seeing everything, and the first thing I did when I was old enough is I joined. So to me, seeing people take it for granted and try to abuse um, a scenario that was, horrible. I'm not going to say that what happened was not a bad situation. And that's another thing I want to get into in this whole Constitution is police abusing their power. That's a thing that's in the Constitution too. You're protected through the Constitution. Through your Bill of Rights, that you're protected from unlawful search and seizure. You don't have to, if a police officer shows up without a warrant, you don't have to give them anything. That's your rights that are given to you. Too many people just, oh yeah, come on in. That's another thing that, and that's something that I know is going to be a sore subject, is that some people are going to be pissed off. It's the truth. Now, does that give you a right to be belligerent and try to spit on cops and treat them like crap and all that? No. They have their rights just like you have your rights. They're citizens of this country as well. So I don't know what you guys are thinking right now, but this is these are just a few examples, and this is how it's pertaining today to today. Because if you look at our country today, what's one of the biggest things that's going on right now?
A lot of there's a lot of like police situations, like just encounters with police officers that usually don't go towards the favor of either party.
Yep. There's so much going on, so much tension with police officers. And it's actually, what the problem is that um, too many people, there's two problems. One, police officers don't have enough training. Because if you look at it, special forces, they're consistently training. That's all they do. They train. So when they go into a scenario, they know what to do. They've had this training consistently. Cops, they only have a slight, like a fraction of the training that they should, in comparison to what they have to deal with going out and dealing with criminals or people who are belligerent if they're drunk, or people who are high, or people who are just having a really bad day and they don't feel like complying. It happens. But if you don't have enough training, you don't know how to react in that situation. And the same goes for people on the other side of the spectrum who will just not care. People who are career criminals, they just don't care about the law and they decide to fight back against cops. People who don't truly understand their rights. People who get caught in a situation they never thought they would have, and something happens. I mean, it happens all the time. A cop pulls somebody over, person's complying completely, and a cop will pull them out of their car and start treating them like they're a criminal. That's wrong. You know, so everyone's got to understand that you have to look at every scenario. And another big thing that's happening nowadays is an attack on the Second Amendment. That's another big thing that's happening nowadays. I mean, I didn't fully watch the president's speech, but what is he consistently pushing? Taking away your Second Amendment right, taking away assault weapons, which I know this will be a sore subject. I don't know how you guys feel about guns, but who here knows what an assault weapon is?
I don't know too much about like that specifically. But in my eyes, I would assume assault weapon is a full auto like rifle.
You're correct. So what do you think an AR-15 is?
An AR-15. So that sounds like it sounds like a rifle, and it sounds like it's full auto,
Nope.
or is it not?
Nope. Semi-automatic.
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
Washington State, full auto is already illegal. You can't own a full auto in Washington State. You can't own a short-barreled shotgun. So when you're trying to ban assault weapons, there are no assault weapons in Washington State. In Washington State, you have semi-automatic rifles that are sporter rifles. They're sporting rifles that's what they were made for. And they're made for, they can be used in self-defense. Yeah, that's what they're made for. They're made for being sporting rifles, but they're also made for you to use for your own protection. That is our right to own those. Many people would argue that it's our right to be able to own a full auto without any government regulation. Now, I agree because I want full autos, and when I move to Texas, I'll probably purchase some. But only certain people should be allowed to own something like that. only certain people. Like you should, there should be absolutely should be some licensing for that stuff because there's just some people out there. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who should just not own guns, period. Even people who legally can own firearms, there are some people out there who, yeah, they need some kind of training, but it's still their right to own a firearm. Now, I work in a gun shop right now, and I recommend anyone who's a first time buyer to do some kind of course. Get some kind of training and understanding of how to function a fire, how to make a firearm function, you know, like how to safely use it. Should there be a law to force people to? I don't think so. And the reason don't think there should be a law to force people to is because people like me who have a background of military and know how to use firearms, I grew up with firearms. I don't need that training. So if you're gonna try to force me to do it, it's like it's kind of all useless in my mind because I already know. But for people who don't, it's a good thing to have some kind of classes. So now, Luna, Haley, what do you guys think about the Second Amendment? What do you guys think about like weapons, you know?
Well, I feel like for me, because I don't, no one I know really own guns like personally, except maybe you. But like, I don't really have any thought behind it besides the fact that I feel like it should be more protected in terms of like even just getting like a pistol or something like that. I feel like there should be a more rigorous like type of thing to buy it because a lot of people are like some people get it and then there's like shootings in places that shouldn't happen, things like that. And like you could like just I've heard like you can go to Walmart and just get it too, things like that. No?
I mean, I agree with Haley. I don't see that um like everyone like the idea that everyone can get like buy a gun, it's kind of unsafe because I think there should be like more like background checking about who's getting buying a gun and yeah.
So, like I said, I work in a gun shop, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is a background check
Like
everywhere across the entire United States. There's a background check. There's an FBI, no matter what. So there's only two ways you can leave with a gun the same day. Only two ways, and not every state allows this. Washington State doesn't allow you to leave with a semi-automatic pistol or rifle for 10 days, and that's 10 government business days. Okay?
mhm.
The only weapons you can leave the same day with, and that's if you're 21 and older, is a shotgun and a hunting rifle. That's it. A bolt action rifle that you have to do this every time you shoot. So there are background checks on, and there's still background checks on those. You still have to or fill out a what is called a 4473, a paperwork for the FBI to do a background check on you. And we send up that documentation up to them, and they send back a approval or disapproval or a hold. A hold means that it's going to take a little bit longer. If you're, you can purchase a hunting rifle or a shotgun if you're 18 or older. But there's a new federal law that if you're 18 or older, 18 to 21, if you're younger than 21, but you're 18 because you're legally allowed to purchase hunting rifles and shotguns at 18, you still have to wait 10 days. And that's 10 government business days So perfect example, today, if you were to if you went today to purchase a firearm, say one of you went to purchase a pistol or a rifle, you would have to wait until the 25th to pick it up. So when people say there needs to be more background checks, what more background checks do you need? The only other second way you can leave with a gun the same day, and that's only in some states. It used to be in this state until they passed some other laws. If you have a concealed carry permit, which a concealed carry permit entails a major background. They take your fingerprints, you submit a bunch of background paperwork, and then they take about a month to decide whether or not you can even have a concealed carry license. They'll do a full background check on you. And some states, if you have a concealed carry, you can buy a firearm and leave with it that day. That's only because you have a concealed carry permit that shows you've had a major background check through the FBI and the ATF, showing you can legally leave with a firearm. So when they talk about more background checks, there's no reason to have more background checks. It's just control. It's controlling your right. Just like that Washington State. Here's the thing. Washington State's talking about making a license to purchase a firearm. That doesn't make sense because a license is something that gives you permission when I already have it as a right. I don't, your driver's license, you need permission to have. That's not a right. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say you're allowed to drive. So when I'm telling you guys this stuff, it's to get you, like I said, I want to make this an educational thing. This is a, and if you guys have anything to say, just jump in, you know. It's all about educating you guys on this. And then anyone else who wants to watch this, it's not, I'm not trying to demean anybody in any way. This is just pure facts. This is all entailed in it.
Something that I wanted to say was probably regarding handguns. I feel like a lot of people don't really like look towards handguns when you think of like a lot of the mass shootings that go on. But so I think I was reading a statistic somewhere that a large amount of mass shootings in America are
Mhm.
actually caused by handguns rather
Yep.
than like a large assault rifle or something of that nature, which would you would assume would be used to do this like type of damage.
Nope. That's you are absolutely right. And that's one argument that a lot of us have made. And the thing is those are regulated too. Those require a 10-day waiting period. If someone's going to commit evil, they're going to do it anyway. Perfect example, I can't remember how long ago or the guy's name. There's a guy who drove through a crowd on purpose, wanting to kill people. And here in the United States, drove straight through a crowd, wanting to kill people. This was not long after the whole George Floyd situation and everything like that. Just drove through people because he wanted to kill people. You don't need a gun to do it.
So you're saying that fewer guns doesn't have to result in less violence.
If you take guns away, people are going to find a way to be violent no matter what. Look at history. If you look at history, guns haven't existed forever. But some of the bloodiest times were when guns didn't exist. Am I wrong?
No.
We had the Dark Ages. We had Spanish Inquisition. You know, we had all kinds of people are going to be evil no matter what you do. But the real question is, do you want to have something to protect yourself against those evil people, or do you just want to have nothing and be a target? That's the real question. Do you want to be the vulnerable person that they go after, or do you want to be the person who they won't want to go after because you have your rights? Same thing with the government. If you lose your Second Amendment right, guess what they're going to come after you lose your Second Amendment right? Your First Amendment, your third, your fourth, your fifth, everything. There's nothing to protect those amendments.
When you bring up the Third Amendment, that's actually pretty interesting to me because I was just reading, like, I just like glanced over it, and it was actually like protects people, like normal people, from allowing like the government to take over their home, because like British, like before that, British soldiers used to just like invade your house whenever, and like you couldn't stop them because they were basically backed by the government. I actually had no idea about this, which is actually pretty sad because like if I like it exists and it exists for a good purpose.
Hmm.
But I was just imagining like life before it existed. It would just be like your house could just randomly be like completely ransacked by soldiers and you couldn't really do anything about it.
That also has to do with the search and seizures. Because the third is all about them not being able to occupy your home. And then, you know, you these amendments are here for a reason. These rights are here for a reason. You know, Abraham Lincoln, you know, made the amendment to free slaves. You know, that's there for a reason. You know, and this country is marred by, bad things, obviously. We're not a perfect country, but what country is? I please name one country that doesn't have one horrible thing. I mean, you have countries that like Israel, right? Israel has been at war for thousands of years with the same war, you know? If you look at China's constantly been at war with itself. Not only themselves, but other countries. You know, it's always been there throughout history. And and you guys know that we're not actually a democracy, right?
I've heard about that. I just didn't know exactly what context it was like being used in.
We're a constitutional republic that we hold some demo, like democratic ideas. Well, our voting system is like a democracy style, but we're not actually a democracy. So when you hear all this stuff about, oh, bringing democracy, we're not actually bringing democracy. We're a constitutional republic. We're here constantly talking about democracy when we're not actually a democracy. So what are you guys thinking? You know, you're all sitting here kind of quiet, and
I don't know. I feel like I'm just like glancing through all these amendments like over and over again. Um and like a lot of these make so much sense. Like I feel like I've seen these in use, but I just never like put two and two together. Like the Eighth Amendment, which is bars excessive bails and fines and cruel and unusual punishments. Um,
yep,
I feel like I've seen that in a few court cases where it's like obviously the judge cannot like for example, even if you think someone's guilty, um, the judge can't like go so far as to like give their own personal punishment
hmm
like to them, like even if they think whatever they did is horrible. um and they can also not like place an excessive bail or fine on them. um and I'm assuming that is so it equals out with their crime, so like their crime and their bail kind of equal out. So people with like that did a lot of crime can't get away with a low bail, and people with like a smaller petty crime can't be slapped with a really high bail,
hmm
which seems really like actually like that seems really like I don't know, fair and smart.
yeah. Once you get into the Constitution, it all makes sense. It's just you have to open your eyes to the fact that quit thinking in the too many people think in the ideas of some other person. You heard something on some news channel, you heard something on the dig into it yourself. You have to dig into everything yourself. That's another right given to you by the Constitution. The freedom to do that, to actually seek the truth. Like you can do what you want as long as you're within, certain laws. Obviously, you can't go and murder somebody. I mean, that's not protected by the Constitution, you know. And our and this country's forefathers knew this. They may have not known exactly, like, again, we're gonna go back to the guns real quick. They may not have known that an AR-15 would have existed, but they had an idea. They saw where it was going. They saw that there's always progression. And you got to look at that in the scope of everything, all of our rights that were given to us in the Constitution. They're all looked at as a progression. Every single person in here comes from an immigrant background. My family came here from Italy. So in the end, we're all here and we all came here for a reason. All of our families came here for a reason at some point. And what do you guys think that reason was? Was it just 'cause?
I think it was because like well like how I see it is this country is in most cases better than the rest of the countries in like in the world, basically. That's like a weird thing to say.
I don't, I'm gonna say this real quick. I don't go as far to say we're better than every other country. That's to me is kind of a snobbish thing to say. But I say that our rights are better protected. There are some great countries out there that they don't really have a constitution like ours, but they have a lot of freedoms and they're kind of like they're happy, you know. There's plenty of countries out there who are happy. They don't have really any like major issues that they really care about. But the downfall in our country right now is that because we've had so much freedom that so many people take it for granted, and then they begin to misunderstand it. And then you have things out there that just kind of dilute your freedoms, dilute people's sense of thinking. I mean, the, look at all these platforms nowadays. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. They take all of your attention away from what's important. And to me, what's important is actually doing your research, actually enjoying your freedoms and you know, wanting to preserve those freedoms. It's not just for us, it's for our future generations. I have 3 kids. I want my kids to have the same freedoms I have. I wish I could go back in time and fix all this crap so that my kids can grow up in a time like I grew up. I remember after 9/11, this country was like this. We were all united. And today we're broken apart. And if a government wants to take over a country like ours, what do they do? What do they have to do? Divide and conquer. If you think I'm hateful because I'm white, then you're gonna hate me because somebody else told you, just because my skin color, or just because I have a certain set of beliefs. And the Constitution is made to help protect us and keep us as the people, one group of people. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking about like digging more up into the amendments and fully understanding what each one really means.
Okay. Haley, what are you thinking?
Well, like Muna, I think I should probably read more about it to understand it more, like on my own.
Yeah, and you know, we're not here to make homework for nobody. I'm just trying to bring you guys up to speed and get you guys thinking about this stuff. Get you guys really the juices flowing so you guys can maybe get actually interested in it. Because I know when we first talked before this whole podcast, you guys were like, I don't know a thing about it. I mean, I've never really thought about it.
Mhm.
And that's what I wanted to do, was create a social media, campaign that would create this kind of situation. Get people to start looking into it. You guys, getting you guys to start looking into it a little more. And like I said, we're all diverse backgrounds. Well, we went a little longer than I was thinking we were gonna, so um I think we should call it on that one. I think that was a pretty good one. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think next one I kind of want to hear you guys talk a little more. I want to hear your guys' thoughts um on the whole situation. So but I'm gonna say thank you to all our viewers. We have a Twitter with the same name, Our Rights, Our Oath. Go ahead and look us up. We also have a TikTok that Mr. Rossi over here's in charge of. So you guys can hop over there and take a look at that as well. And thank you guys for coming.